More than 100 people have run or walked to honour allegedly murdered Ballarat woman Samantha Murphy. Lexi Junewick is at the event in the westernest Victorian town of Bacchus Marsh. Lexi, we know that this has had such an impact on the community there. What is the atmosphere like where you are?
Yeah, good morning to you. There is a real mix of emotion here at the Let's Honour Samantha Murphy event here in Bacchus Marsh. Participants gathered before dawn, taking a minute to honour Ms Murphy, who was allegedly murdered just over a month ago. Now, participants had the choice to run 7Ks or do a 3K walk. It really wasn't about, besting any PBs or setting any records today. Organisers said the goal of this event was really to give participants the chance to be together, to connect, to talk while they walked or run, and work through the emotions that have come to the surface following Ms Murphy's alleged murder. Speaking to organisers, they told me that, initially there was feelings of confusion, then sadness, anger and grief. So all those emotions have really been felt here this morning, as well as a lot of positivity. You can probably see behind me that a lot of people are just taking time to be with one another, have a bit of a chat. There are some dogs, there are some babies as well, so a real mix and a real show of community here. I spoke to some of the participants before they set off on their walk or run this morning. Take a listen to what they had to tell me.
For our running club, it's made women a lot more aware about where they're running, who they're running with, if they're running by themselves, and who they tell, before they head out for their run. I myself have a tracking app on my phone so that my partner can see, if I've stopped moving, and I always check in with someone when I get back from my run.
As a woman, I know when I run or walk, I'm always looking behind and just making sure that no one's behind me.
Yeah, it's really impacted the community, so great to see that community support there. But Lexi, what is the latest with the police investigation at this stage?
Well, it was just over a week ago that police charged 22-year-old Patrick Oren Stevenson with Ms Murphy's murder. At the time, Chief Commissioner Shane Patton said that Mr Stevenson had not disclosed where Ms Murphy's body was. At present, police have told me that there is no update to their investigation, so the search for Ms Murphy's body continues.
Right, Lexi Junewick, thank you for the update there in Bacchus Marsh. Well, it has been a challenging few weeks for the residents of Ballarat in Victoria. They've had to deal with bushfires, the disappearance of well-known mother of three, as we were just mentioning there, and also most recently a mine collapse that resulted in one death.
Well, to talk to us about the cumulative toll on the town is Australian Institute for Disaster Resilience Chief Executive Margaret Morton. Margaret is also a Ballarat resident. A very good morning to you, Margaret.
Thank you very much.
We just heard Lexi there talking to us, from the walk in honour of Samantha Murphy. She talked about how the community has come together in grief and to support each other. What conversations are you having and that are being held within the community right now?
Thank you. And it was excellent to watch that article just now. And it's the kind of example of how communities do come together after all sorts of traumatic events. The conversations are varied. For the family and friends who knew Samantha, this has been an incredibly difficult time, and the grief is raw and will continue to be raw. There's a long path ahead for those people in our community. The court process or the legal process will take months. So the conversation is one of concern for the families and a sense of disquiet about the effect it has on all of us in the community. As you just heard from the women who are running in honour of Samantha today, there are other groups also running on a regular basis and trying to reclaim that sense of safety. There are a number of aspects of well-being that we all need to feel good about our lives, and one of them is that sense of safety. And so people are trying to reclaim that. Social connections and reaching out to one another is a really important part of that, and we see that people are reaching out and consoling one another, and also just trying to get that sense of enjoyment back of belonging to the wonderful community of Ballarat.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Margaret,
it's a difficult time.
Ballarat has also seen a death in the mining community as well. It's just come out of bushfires as well. You know, the absence of Samantha Murphy obviously being felt as well. What is the sense in the community right now with all these sort of events coming one after the other?
In our work, we call these compounding events, events that are disconnected but occur in succession or simultaneously, and they sort of combine together to have this effect on the community. And given that the young man who died was not from the Ballarat community, but the man who's injured and in recovery in Melbourne, and our hearts go out to him and his family as well. He is from the Ballarat community. So once again, we have this disquiet of we'd quite like to get off the headlines in the media. We'd quite like to be able to live our lives and not have these kinds of events. And we do have a concern for the people affected. And again, in this case, this will not be a quick process to get off the headlines, because there will most likely be ongoing discussions about how this occurred and what should change.
These compounding events and how the community comes together to try to support each other, do you think we're seeing more of that support within regional communities and towns like Ballarat rather than in urban areas?
This is a very interesting topic to explore. I grew up in the country. I'm from this region. I've lived elsewhere in my life, and I've kind of come home to live in Ballarat. And so I have a bit of a bias, I have to declare, toward rural communities, because we have a practice of pulling together when times get tough. And, you know, if you go for a walk or if you just do your groceries, the chances are that people will smile and say, hello, how's things? And in cities where I've lived, that hasn't been quite the case. So I declare my bias up front. I do think the more that these events happen, and we have increased frequency and severity of natural hazards becoming disastrous events, you know, floods, fires, cyclones, all of those things. This is becoming more common as an experience for a community. And so we have community leaders and community groups all over this country of ours that regularly step up, step forward, reach out, support people in the community. And so it's becoming more understood, the sorts of things you can do to rebuild that connection in your community and rebuild that sense of calm and safety and create hope for the future. These things are becoming regular events in a way that we have to deal with.
You know, Margaret, when we think of disasters, we tend to think of action plans, don't we? You know, what is your exit strategy in terms of a flood or a bushfire? Where to go, what to pack, how to prepare. Not much thought seems to go to the mental health or the emotional resilience to deal with such disasters.
Work going on at the moment about those very things, the mental health and well-being and resilience. I think what we need is an additional kind of awareness of that across the community. At the Institute, we provide seminars and run programs supporting the networks of people who work in and support communities during these times. And certainly in local government, in community organisations, in all levels of government, in business. We're working with those people around issues like mental health and wellbeing and how to support communities like Ballarat at this time. So there is a lot of work going on. There are some excellent organisations involved. Phoenix Australia is a really good organisation. The Red Cross is a really fabulous organisation. There's information on the websites of those organisations about how to think about psychological first aid, how to think about mental health and wellbeing. So it probably doesn't make the front page or the front of our consciousness, but there is a lot of work going on in this area.